Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Christina Inrig and I work with the Greening Sacred Spaces Ottawa chapter. I've been involved with Faith and the Common Good, our parent organization, since 2004. So it's been a long time that I've been involved in this organization. It's a real passion of mine. I care a lot about faith and sustainability. And so it's a project that I continue to support in our community. And as you know, if many of you may know or may not know, but Greening Sacred Spaces is the Ottawa chapter of Faith and the Common Good, which is a national interfaith network that works to promote many different issues, including sustainability issues within the faith sector across Canada. We work on a multi-faith network, so we really try to bring in all different communities who are working on faith and multicultural connections. And specifically in Ottawa, our focus is around greening and energy benchmarking. So it's nice to see a lot of folks here who've been involved in our program over the years, and we're going to continue to work on building some great initiatives in our community. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our Ottawa team, who are going to take it from here for the great presentations we have. And for those of you who don't know, I'm recovering from a concussion. I was in a car accident at the end of November, so I'm not going to keep my screen on for the whole meeting, but Hannah is here to take care of you, and we've got some great speakers, both of who I know very well, so you're in for a treat today. So Hannah, over to you.
Thank you, Christina. So welcome everyone to our first webinar of the year. We are all very excited to be here with you today and to hear our guest speakers. So my name is Hannah and I am the current Energy Benchmarking Program Lead for Greening Sacred Spaces. And I will be your main moderator for today. So this webinar is being recorded. So if you don't feel comfortable being recorded, just turn your video off at any time. As well as we do ask you to keep your mics on mute during the presentations and put any questions you have in the chat. And then M&A, our program coordinator, and I will be moderating the chat to make sure that your questions are addressed after the presentations during the discussion period. So I will now ask our digital intern, Natasha, to present our territorial acknowledgement.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we are on Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, which means we respect and work within these rights. Sorry, my dog really wants to be in the camera. And we will now introduce our first speaker, Melanie Johnson. She works at Home Energy Services as the director at EnviroCentre, and she will be discussing EnviroCentre's work and services on environmental sustainability and how these services would be beneficial to your faith communities.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am Melanie Johnston. I have been the Director of Energy Programs at EnviroCentre for several years now, with the organization for well over 10, which is kind of surprising to me because I took it as a job that was going to get me through the Christmas holidays after our business folded. And I became so passionate about the work we were doing that I have stayed this long and really enjoy it. So happy to be here. So for those of you who don't know us, EnviroCentre is a nonprofit environmental organization based here in Ottawa. Our core mission supports sustainable lifestyles, which means that we encourage people to take action on climate in their own lives, in their homes, their workplaces, businesses, and their communities, and right here in the city. By pointing folks towards practical ways to reduce their environmental impact, we can help them make lasting positive change. So our work focuses in 4 key areas, which are green homes, green businesses, green transportation, and green lifestyle. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about energy efficiency in the built environment, as well as the Your Green Business Service, which I think would be of interest to this group. So EnviroCentre does have a primary focus on residential energy audits and retrofits, although over the last several years, we have worked with Greening Sacred Spaces by performing about 20 energy audits on places of worship here in Ottawa. These audits are able to identify areas of improvement in the building envelope, like insulation and air sealing. And we also look at the building's mechanical systems and make recommendations for upgrading to more efficient systems. We also assist with finding financial incentives and have made recommendations on how to roll out any retrofit activities, including recommendations to reputable contractors and partners. So we do continue to offer these energy auditing services. And as well, we try to access any incentives that are available through municipalities, utilities, as well as any provincial or federal government offerings. At this time, there does not appear to be much in the way of financial incentives available specifically for congregations. However, we do know that the federal government has made a commitment to addressing climate action and is in the development stage of programming. So I think the residential piece will first come into play, but we do expect that there will be some monies allocated to buildings in the faith sector. So that's kind of energy audits and the services that we provide there. And again, if we're happy to answer any questions afterwards, but for now, I think I'll just roll into EnviroCentre's Your Green Business programs, which support businesses and other workplace organizations in working together to achieve our collective sustainability goals. So I consider places of faith to be businesses as well, or at least, you know, have a business. They tend to have staff, and they fall under that guise. They're certainly not a residence for the most part, although they may have a residence. So our EnviroCentre's Your Green Business program basically over the last year has spun into a much more online presence. So historically it was a lot of in-person events, and because of COVID and our amazing executive director, we were able to pivot quite well and really enhance our online offerings. So there are sort of 3 tiers to the program. We have a learn tier, an act tier, and a join tier. So at a minimum, I would encourage everybody on the call to at least join the learn tier, which is 100% free. And it gives you access to things like workshops, information like in the form of tips and tricks. You have access to some of our events as well as our newsletter that goes out on a monthly basis. It's a great place to start, and it will also introduce you to some of our other levels of service. And I think I know how to do this. I'm going to try to put this link. Forgive me, I am not the most tech savvy person, and I almost always have somebody else on a call with me that does this. So give me 1 sec.
I see that the slideshow's not up either. Do you want me to put that on for you?
Nope, I'm ready to launch now. So my slideshow has just been created by our amazing comms team, and
Seems that you froze there, Melanie.
Did we lose Mel there?
I think we did.
okay.
Oh, there it's working.
There we go.
Got it? Okay. And of course, yes, my internet connection has now gone to unstable. So yeah, probably somebody got on for some online learning, which tends to have an impact. So bear with me. Hopefully my connection stays stable. So Your Green Business, basically a program helping your business take action on climate. So as one of Canada's 1.2 million businesses, your choices do matter. Small choices have a big impact, and when businesses work together, the impact is even better. So some of the benefits basically are that we are able to help you sort of measure and assess and improve your sustainability performance. And this is by working together with lots of different businesses and different types of businesses throughout the city. So as I mentioned, there are 3 tiers. The first tier being the free one, which gives you some basic access to information and a taste of what it is that you would get by getting into some of the other tiers. The YGB Online, Your Green Business Online, is kind of exciting to me. It's for a business that wants to engage employees and connect with other businesses and move towards sustainability with light support. So maybe you're not quite ready to dive into the weeds 100%, but you want to get more information and access to tools. It's $100 a year, which is pretty reasonable considering the amount of content that we have been able to provide. But the focus is on self-service tools. So learning employee engagement and learning opportunities. So it's really self-directed. The hub, YGB Hub, is also known as Carbon 613, so some people may be familiar with that program. And this is for a business that's really ready to take sort of concrete action on climate and reduce emissions, build projects, set targets, and track progress. This is if you want some personalized support and some customized tools that help get you there. So the fees really do vary depending on the size of the business, the number of staff that you would be engaging. So you're looking at somewhere between $500 and $4,500 a year. $4,500 would be for, like, say, somebody like the Ottawa Carleton District School Board with, you know, many thousands of employees, and $500 you know, would be somebody like, say, Angela's Bed and Breakfast would be a good example of a member that has worked with us before. So it's a proven method to affect concrete greenhouse gas reductions, set targets, and measure success. It's climate action, really by the numbers. So the YGB online services, basically, we have a whole bunch of different sections. So we've got, I don't know why that's, oh, we're pointing you towards our My Green Lifestyle daily tips. So we do have several websites where we can link together programs, but this would be weekly tips that go out to your employees and they catalyze action. So an example of some of the tips would be, you know, on green transportation, for example, and using the trip chain, as they say. So planning one trip and hitting several different destinations will reduce the amount of carbon you put into the environment. We also offer new this year some green business badges. So this is really fun. This is sort of a monthly badge that comes out, and you can individually work on it or as a green team work on this. And it's really to help you learn more about sustainability and show your commitment to sustainability by earning these badges. Some examples of the badges that you may want to go after are a local buyer. So, you know, by purchasing local and sort of just tracking that and putting that information into our badge sheet, you can earn that badge on a monthly basis. Green shopper, green team. I think we've got a few around sustainable lunches or catering at a business. So they're just meant to be fun, really. Then we've got challenges, and challenges are also fun, but it's a really good way to engage your whole team. So some examples of challenges would be Let's Bike. EnviroCentre has historically run Bike to Work Month in May, but obviously with the impacts of COVID, we know that people have moved to working remotely. And so we've changed that campaign to really just be Let's Bike Ottawa and get people out on their bikes. So we do have, though, in the month of June, a dedicated month to Let's Bike, and we have all kinds of prizes and trip tracking and ways of measuring your impact there. We have several challenges throughout the year. One of the other ones that we're working on currently is the Carbon Challenge, which we hope to roll out, I think, in March or April, and that will be sort of like a month-long challenge campaign where you're able to earn points and measure against other businesses. Alrighty, green business worksheets I'm really proud of. My team put a lot of work into these. These are basically templates to allow you to develop things like your sustainability statement or your sustainability webpage. Maybe you want some presence on the web. This is a worksheet that will help you get there. Creating a sustainability plan. We are currently going through this as our green team. I sit on our green team, and we are going through all of these modules, and I must admit the content is fantastic. So there are lots of links to examples of other organizations, some free resources, and just really it's a fillable form that helps you get started and makes you really start to think, and you have some really great conversations as a part of that. Moving right along, we've got ePod. So this is another way to engage your team, and this is a monthly automated learning tool, and that goes right into staff inboxes. So no need to manage it from your end. It would go directly into any of your team members' mailboxes. Things like carbon quizzes. We've got some green business readers. Just, again, more information and just access to information. And then of course, we've got our newsletter. So this is a way for you to stay current with green business happenings locally and across the region. Lots of good tips and tricks in the newsletter as well. And that comes out on a monthly basis. And I think lastly, we've got some online, we've got online events. So this is a good calendar. We have a weekly series called The Green Room, where we have some people answer 5 questions about sustainability. Our Your Green Business virtual tours, are extremely popular. This is probably our most well-attended event. So for instance, last year and again this year, we'll be doing a virtual tour with IKEA and looking at all of their sustainability initiatives. Very inspiring, the work that they're doing. We'll also be doing a tour of Carleton University and the new Hydro Ottawa facility. We have in the past done some smaller groups. CSB Architects last year was a good example of somebody in a rented space and what they were able to do in that space to make it more sustainable. So that's always interesting. And it also taps into all kinds of other events, including this one, I believe is probably listed on that calendar. And then lastly is our online discussion forum. So this is a curated discussion forum. It's on Slack, and we have a Slack channel for Your Green Business, and you're able to post questions, network with people, and just engage with other organizations and share ideas and learn. So if we move into the Your Green Business Hub Services, basically this plan includes everything that I just talked about on top of personalized sustainability planning. So in this case, you're going to get more hands-on support from our hub staff in the form of myself, Evan on our team, Brody and Mandy are all super supportive and are able to provide additional support. And these staff will help you sort of guide you through the different stages of your sustainability planning and help you create a sustainability strategy that is tailored to your organization. It is a milestone program. So the hub model is designed to help you turn your business data and your sustainability goals into insights that drive action, clear, measurable, effective climate action. We offer target setting. So businesses that set targets do achieve their goals more effectively, and Your Green Business Hub will help you set a target. And then we also help you monitor that, your day-to-day, your monthly, and your annual business processes. Impact accounting in this particular case is obviously one of the most popular things. So our team works with your team on actually taking the data that you have. So your electricity and your hydro and your building data. And we put this into a tool which generates a report and gives you sort of your baseline that helps you set your targets. And you can compare sort of your impact year after year. Really very popular, and it covers basically all scopes of emissions. Green team support. So if you've got a green team, or this is some service that you could tap into to establish and help grow it. If you don't have a green team, we can give you the tools to get your green team started. Having engaged staff is probably like the biggest way to make your impact. So then additional service on top of that are quarterly check-ins with our hub staff, where we check in and we see how things are going. I see my connection is unstable again. I have in-person events here, which are maybe going to come back, but for now we've got a ton of virtual events. Lots of advice and support. Your yearly sustainability report, which is really exciting and gives you that concrete data with lots of graphs and visuals. We also have our sustainability awards every year, which are handed out on our evening of recognition, which I think has moved to afternoon of recognition. But some examples of those awards would be Rookie of the Year, so newest member that has come in and been really engaged, or will highlight a specific sustainability project if there's a business that's done something above and beyond. Facility walkthroughs are something that we would have done in person, where we would go through your facility and help you identify areas for efficiency. We actually have a workshop now on how to do one yourself, and we provide you with tools so that you can actually do your own walkthrough of your facility. And then we have some additional energy audit discounts. So really, the benefits for business is the cost of cutting carbon. So we know that on average, a business saves about $400 per ton of CO2 reduced. And obviously reduced emissions is an efficiency, which is a better business. And then just lastly, these are some of the members in our network, just so that you would have access to these members. So people like Halt Hotel or the Museum of Nature, Carleton University, or some of our larger groups, Open Concept and Delphi Group on the smaller side of things. As I mentioned, Angela's Bed and Breakfast is a good example of an owner-operated business that takes advantage or has taken advantage of our services. And the RA Center, as well as a few housing cooperatives, which we are really excited to work with. And lastly, it's a network. So we are actually a hub that is part of many hubs across the country, growing, always growing. It's the Green Economy Network, and it is, from my understanding at least, for Canada, the most researched and tested model. So basically working together, and we're able to get a lot of information. If there's something that we can't do, we can reach out to the hub and they can help you. And that's really it from me on EnviroCentre and our services. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was awesome. So next we'll have Erin Thorno, who is the customer service or customer and member manager at CoEnergy Cooperative Ottawa, who will be talking about the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative, so OREC, works on renewable energy sustainability projects and the ways of financing these types of projects.
Thanks, Natasha. Yeah, sorry, my title's such a mouthful. Thanks everyone for letting me speak today about the work that we're doing. Just to be clear, I'm working with two cooperatives. So one is CoEnergy Cooperative and the other is the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative. The two kind of in parallel. I'm sure a few folks on the call are familiar with OREC. It's been around since about 2010, but here to talk to you a little more about CoEnergy today, because I think it's a little more relevant, to the subject at hand. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Okay, seeing that all right? Give me just a nod of head.
Yeah, we can see it.
Thank you so much. So CoEnergy Cooperative is, as the name would suggest, a co-op. We are a co-op that's focused on sustainability. And really our aim is the development and financing of low carbon resilient projects and to create a low carbon resilient future where the benefits are staying within the community. So we work with buildings, facilities, organizations of all shapes and sizes to help achieve their greenhouse gas reduction targets. And we do through the cooperative business model. And so for folks, I'm sure many on the call are familiar with this model. We obviously lost a big co-op name with the Mountain Equipment Co-op change a couple of months ago, which was a sad day for us in the co-op sector. But really, co-ops have been around, for decades and have really worked and been shown to enable, as I say, keeping benefits within the community, keeping a real local focus at times. And so for us, it's really about, blending the work that we want to see on the sustainability side of things with this cooperative business model. And it's sort of building upon the success that the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative has had since 2010 in developing solar projects in the region. So, one of the most important, probably the most important part of cooperatives is its members. And so for CoEnergy, our membership is open to anyone living in Canada. And it's really made up of folks like those of you on this call. It's individuals who are passionate about creating, a renewable, sustainable, resilient future. And it's our membership who enable us to use our community financing tool to realize local sustainability projects. So we've currently got about 350 members, mostly living in Ottawa and Eastern Ontario, and that's building upon sort of a larger network of individual supporters as well. So a little snapshot about how we kind of function, and I can then go into sort of more specifics about how it could pertain to faith communities. So CoEnergy is really a group that looks to help design when necessary, manage again when necessary, and develop renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. So we work with, be it faith communities, be it nonprofits, charities, other organizations directly to identify where their opportunities for energy efficiency, savings might lie, and help them develop those projects, be it, through working with, Mel and her team at EnviroCentre. I know we've collaborated on a couple initiatives, which, by the way, I can't really speak highly enough of EnviroCentre's work. I've been a long time, fan of everything they do. So whether it's working with groups like that or working directly with contractors, as the case may be, we'll help you sort of put those pieces of the puzzle together to realize the kinds of greenhouse gas reductions that you want to see realized in your facility, in your faith community. From that point, once those projects have sort of been flushed out, that's where our community financing mechanism comes into play. And I'll speak a little bit more to that in a little bit. But essentially what we do is we allow our members to invest directly in these sustainability projects, these local sustainability endeavors. And so we actually create our own investment products to be able to pool that local capital, and this is what we use to cover the capital cost of these initiatives. And then through various financing arrangements, whether it's a standard lease agreement or something a little more tailored to the kind of project, those upfront costs will be repaid by the project that we're working with, usually out of the savings, to be able to make it a net positive, cash flow positive initiative. Of course, on the back end of that, revenues that the cooperative brings in are then returned to members and our investors. So it's really, keeping those investment dollars in the local, cooperative community, as well as the local economy more broadly. So this is a really high sort of level look at the kinds of services that we've been able to provide to groups in the past and the project partners that we've worked with. So whether it's starting from square one with an energy audit, that's something that we've been able to help groups get up and off the ground, and then working through the stages where it's securing financing through ourselves and through other sources, working to find the appropriate contractors for these projects. If there needs to be project management to help support the development of these projects, that's something we can do too. And then of course monitoring evaluation of the projects to make sure that the kinds of results that are being targeted are being achieved. And then of course the promotion is a huge part of I think what everyone's doing on the call today, which is promoting the kinds of solutions that we know exist, that we need to just scale up to realize a sustainable low carbon future. So as I say, a little bit more about how the kind of financing works, because that really is the unique nature of what our cooperative brings to the table. So as I say, our cooperative is made up of 350 individuals, and periodically when we've brought projects to a level that are ready for, it's essentially investment ready, will enable those members to invest directly in these kinds of projects. As I say, these are not, investors, large scale, shadowy figures investing from other parts of the world. These are individuals living in in the community. There's members on the call today who've invested in the past, and really the aim with these is to allow folks to connect their investment dollars with these kinds of projects, the ones that they believe in. And obviously the aim is to bring benefit both to the investor, to the members, and to the facility that we're working with through, on the one hand, realizing energy efficiency, savings and, reducing gas emissions, and on the other, allowing folks to earn a return off their investments in local sustainability and green projects. So this graph is a bit of a snapshot as far as, a simplified version of how we try to structure this kind of financing work. So, the left-hand column that you'll see there, that's sort of, your facility as it exists today, so maybe there's some, inefficiencies, maybe there's some opportunities for energy efficiency savings, maybe your roof well positioned for, for solar panels, whatever the case may be. We'll work with you to identify ways to do that. And then, in that middle bar, you can see that those utility savings are what we aim to realize. So whether it's 30%, 40%, the number is obviously going to vary based on the kind of project that's being taken on. But the aim with the work that we do is that the savings are more than enough to repay the upfront capital investment that the co-op makes in the facility. And so in doing so, you're still taking home a portion of that savings, that top yellow bar, from day one. So this is, a way to essentially realize the kinds of changes that you want to see in your facility and save money right from the get-go, rather than sort of waiting for that payback period to be realized. It also enables groups to get around maybe some of the high capital costs that can be restrict the kind of work that you want to do, to be able to sort of take on these big ticket items that can have these really, really significant savings. And then, of course, after our work and our financing, agreement has come to a close, all those savings, of course, return to the faith community. So, again, a simplified version of the work that we do, but I think it's sort of indicative of how we try to make those energy savings and those dollar savings from utility reductions work for you from day one. What I think is unique about the opportunity for faith communities to work potentially with CoEnergy is, of course, that faith communities are inherently made up of members of their own. And so, the opportunity here is for individuals to, if they are interested, if they're able to, become members of CoEnergy, become members of the cooperative, and that allows them a direct mechanism through which they can invest in their own faith communities, whether it's energy efficiency retrofits, whether it's installing solar panels on their roof. It's a direct link by which folks do that. And of course, congregations make, donations and contributions to their faith communities as well. So, this is another way of doing that in some respects. And it kind of provides and creates a dual benefit because, of course, you're earning that you're earning that return on investment, but you're also being part of the greening of your faith community. And far be it for me to say that investing in your faith community is the better option than making contributions through the normal mechanisms folks support their faith communities already. This is just a maybe alternative way of doing so, which also enables other members of CoEnergy's cooperative membership to contribute to these kinds of projects. And again, when we're talking about large energy retrofit projects, the price tag for that upfront project can be fairly significant. We can be talking hundreds of $1,000s in certain instances. And so being able to contribute to this pool alongside other members, like-minded individuals who want to see, greenhouse gas reductions take place in their community is a unique opportunity, I think, and one that we've been able to leverage in the past. Of course, as Mel says, it goes without saying that whenever you're taking on this kind of work, there needs to be a hunt for incentives. And as Mel alluded, there's a little bit of a scarcity of these kinds of opportunities right now, as folks can imagine. COVID and the pandemic has really shifted the focus of various levels of government. I won't say necessarily that the provincial government, even before the pandemic, had a huge focus on energy efficiency, on renewable energy and other forms of greening. But it is worth saying that, there's still some incentive programs through, the utilities that service this area. There's some micro grant opportunities, and maybe folks on the call know a bit more about this one, but the Faithful Footprints program through the United Church, that's accessible for United Churches. I can't say I know a lot about that, but I've read some really great cases of communities accessing that funding. And then I will mention, again, the federal government, has, as Mel pointed out, talked a lot about upcoming opportunities and upcoming funding programs. FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, is in the process of designing and preparing to launch a community buildings retrofit program, which I think would be, sort of appropriate for faith communities to take part in, and not the easiest application process to go through, having been through it a couple times myself, but certainly is ample amounts of funding to be had there. So this is all to say, when CoEnergy is looking at working with a community, as the case may be, we're not just going to try to make sure it's 100% financed by the co-op. We're going to try to include a blend of financing that's going to maximize the return, that's going to maximize the economic benefit, and it's going to ultimately make the project easier to realize when these kinds of sources of grant funding or incentive funding are mixed into the picture. So want to make sure that that's 100% on the table whenever possible. So just shifting gears a little bit, I talked sort of high level about what the cooperative does, but I think it is important to talk brass tacks about the kinds of projects that might be applicable to faith communities. And I'm sure folks on the call have some ideas already and maybe are already working on projects within their faith community. You know, our background with the other group I mentioned, the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative, is in solar energy. You know, so we've developed, you know, through previous government programs, the Feed and Tariff program that some folks may be familiar with, we've developed 21 solar projects through the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative. And all of those projects were financed entirely by our cooperative membership. You know, so about $8 million worth of solar projects developed through, you know, local individuals investing directly in these solar projects. So that's the sort of basis, that's the foundation upon which we're sort of being upon now. And we're trying to expand into that space of building energy efficiency, energy conservation, because that's where we know there's all these ancillary benefits, like, you know, more comfortable living spaces, more comfortable, you know, faith communities to be a part of, whatever the case may be. And there's also the more direct, maybe, your greenhouse gas emissions reduction lens by tackling things like, you know, reducing natural gas dependency and fossil fuel dependency. But it's worth mentioning that solar is you know, sort of our bread and butter in some respects. It's really our kind of favorite thing to do, and we love doing it. It's not going to work for every building, obviously, without saying. And I'll say I've looked at a fair few church and faith community buildings over the years, and unique rooftops sometimes make for challenging solar installations, but you know, it's always worth a shot. I mentioned earlier, you know, that trying to tackle GHG emissions, you know, more directly, and that comes really through electrification. So working with faith communities to reduce their reliance, eliminate their reliance on fossil fuels, you know, whether that be for heating, for water, domestic hot water systems, whatever the case may be. You know, we're going to work and, you know, try to find ways where you can really reduce that reliance, and you know, maybe in a perfect world, cut the cord between you and Enbridge if the situation allows. Of course, we know economically, you know, price of electricity versus price of natural gas, it's not always going to be an easy business case. But there will be, you know, building types out there where this makes a lot of sense, and so we're all for that. Anything that allows us to push, you know, facilities towards net zero emissions is going to be something that we're interested in doing. Energy efficiency, more broadly speaking, you know, dovetails with the electrification portion of it, but you know, working to eliminate your needs within the facility first is often the best way to start out, you know, projects like these. You know, so whether that's through the classic LED lighting conversion, that's a really easy example of projects that I'm sure a lot of folks have maybe been through before or are familiar with, or doing something more, you know, more nuanced. So it's, you know, whether it's replacing your HVAC equipment or installing, you know, variable speed drives on those, or you know, heat energy recovery systems. You know, all these kinds of things can really have a hugely important role in reducing our, you know, our utility bills, and more so starting to shift, you know, towards a place where maybe at the end of the day, solar comes into, you know, to be able to supply, you know, 80, 90, 100% of your energy needs in the building. That's, you know, the dream scenario. More, you know, sort of speaking to the shell of the building envelope, you know, it's really important to look there too. And, you know, this is again, a unique challenge in faith communities. You know, I've had a conversation with Bill Nuttall on the call, you know, a couple months ago now. How do we make stained glass windows more efficient? You know, this is a really unique sort of challenge that faith communities face, but it's something that I think we all need to, you know, think about, because those are going to be, you know, areas where energy savings can be had. And so whether it, you know, it's not necessarily in replacement, but it's through finding other, you know, innovative solutions that allow these buildings to be more efficient. You know, likewise, you know, many of these faith communities are, you know, have been around for a while, the buildings themselves. And so, you know, you don't want to go in necessarily and start knocking down walls or anything like that. But finding ways to make those spaces more efficient, insulate where possible, seal up drafts where possible, those kinds of things. You know, water conservation sometimes overlooked. You know, we're not not a lot of shower heads maybe to replace in faith community buildings, although probably more than I know. And I think it's important to think about, there is a correlation between water conservation and GHG, emissions reductions, and that, shouldn't be overlooked. But generally speaking, all kinds of water conservation things, work can have really important impacts. Obviously folks there's a growing excitement, say, among electric vehicles, and I think faith communities are a really great, I think, catalyst for the adoption of electric vehicles in the community, because they're meeting places, congregation places where folks can, see firsthand how, an electric vehicle charging station, works. And these kinds of things, I think, while they may seem small to folks who are already familiar with this kind of technology, can be really, really enlightening for others who maybe haven't had the chance to just, interact, touch and feel the kind of, technology that's going to obviously, I think, play a really important and pervasive role in our societies to come. So, working with you to introduce those kinds of things, what are the electricity, and utility system requirements? Those are considerations along those lines as well. So,
hey, Aaron, I'm not sure if you're taking questions at the end, but on that last slide about the electric vehicle charging stations, I've had a few churches ask me about that, including my own, and I just wondered, what kinds of costs are we talking about, and what kinds of, like, I know some of the questions that came up in my church. I'm over at Rideau Park United, and the property committee was wondering, well, how much does it cost for the church to maintain these units? And like, they don't want to make a commitment if they don't have a rough estimate. So it's the installation cost, but it's also the ongoing costs that they've been wondering about. I wondered if you could answer some of that.
I can speak to it broadly, and maybe other folks on the call know more than I do. So happy to give way to those folks. I've seen just a few sort of, actual quotes for different kinds of buildings, and a lot of it depends on whether the electrical service of the building is adequate to be able to accommodate an electric vehicle charger. So, sometimes there's a need to upgrade that service, and that can, rack up, some bills, because it's many thousands of dollars maybe to have Hydro Ottawa or Hydro One, as the case may be, come in and upgrade that service. In terms of the actual technology, the actual charger and the installation, that usually can range, depending on the kind of charger that you're introducing, can range, a couple thousands to maybe 10,000 most, and that's probably that 10,000 on the upper limit of what a faith community would incur for a project like this. Realistically, if you're only installing a couple chargers, that's not going to be a huge expense, maybe a couple $1,000s. And then the ongoing operational costs, of course, there would need to be a little bit of engineering or energy analysis to think about, how often are people going to be using this? Is there a person who works at the church or the faith community that's accessing this charger all day, 5 days a week or 7 days a week? Or is it going to be something that's used for a couple members of the congregation on Sundays? And the ongoing maintenance costs, I know a couple different service providers provide, ongoing maintenance sort of packages, where there's the opportunity for, say like $50 to $100 a month for those, systems to be kept up and running, to help with the billing of those systems as necessary. It's a bit of a moving target for sure, Christina, but I'd be happy to chat with you more offline about the specifics. And
the other group we could bring in is the Electric Vehicle Council of Ottawa, because I know we've talked to them for a few of the nonprofits that were looking to put one in on their site. So I'm sure they would also have some insights. Maybe we should do an EV information session sometime. And I know, Mel, you guys at EnviroCentre are pretty active on EV stuff as well. So and back maybe when COVID is over, we could do another one of the kinds of tours or open houses at one of our churches, because I know you guys, EnviroCentre does a really great EV day at IKEA as well. And that could be something that's interesting. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Aaron. I just kind of
no, not at all. It's
been asked.
It's definitely on the mind of a lot of people right now, and I think your suggestion of work with the Electric Vehicle Council of Ottawa, likewise, even Hydro Ottawa, kind of is supporting this kind of work now, which is exciting to see. But it's an emerging, I would say it's emerging service, obviously, especially for buildings and facilities like faith communities which have what some would, sort of consider irregular, patterns of usage. So, it's something that could be really interesting to dive into with folks like Electric Vehicle Council of Ottawa. I don't want to take up too much more time or space, so I'll pass. I'll stop sharing, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I'll pass it back to Hannah and Natasha.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aaron. Yeah, so we have about 15 minutes or so before 3. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. Maybe to start off, many of you that are on the call today are aware that Greening Sacred Spaces Ottawa is currently running an energy benchmarking program where we are looking for up to 50 faith communities to sign on if you haven't already. And it helps encourage stewardship, targets carbon consumption. It'll help you save with energy and money, and we'll also help work with you and sending these reports out to you to kind of give you a base idea, knowledge on how your building energy performance is doing at this time. And it also is good even if your congregation has already had an audit in the past. This might be a good opportunity to kind of see how the building is performing since you've done any retrofits maybe in the last 5 years or so. So if you want to know more information about our energy benchmarking program, either you can send your email to me in the chat, or I can follow up with you afterwards and we can have a more discussion on that. So also, I think I was to just mention in terms of the electric vehicles, we'll be talking part 2 in a month on March 16th, and we are having Enbridge, Save on Energy, and a couple other speakers to talk more about funding. And we actually have one speaker who will be specifically talking about a little bit more of the electric vehicles side of things through Save on Energy. So that would be something you can definitely sign on for and register is on our website as well. So with that being said, is there any, you guys can feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions that you have.
I guess I just wondered around the table, and maybe I'll just wait. I see Bill just unmuted, so go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I thank you. Thanks for this this opportunity. This has been a great set of presentations. Melanie, I'm with St. Matthew's Anglican Church, and I've been very interested in opportunities, looking for an opportunity for our church community to join in network, through the networking that you've offered with your, through the program that you described with your greening your businesses. And for one reason or the other, it hasn't worked out. So I'm wondering, in the greening your businesses set, particularly the carbon 613 sort of level of engagement, do you have any church communities currently enrolled?
We don't, and I think it's an amazing opportunity. I actually think it would be great to get that community involved, and I think that certainly churches and places of worship can learn from one another, because I think there are some uniqueness and things that are, but lots of commonalities as well. So no, I mean, I think, Bill, you should join and be the first one, and then we can get everybody else on board. That being said, I'd be happy to look into Green Economy Canada and see if any of the other hubs in our network have played, and I can let you know that for sure offline.
Right. Well, just a follow up. The one of the things that came to my mind as being sort of a unique thing about enrolling a church community as opposed to a business is that. And this came to mind listening to your presentation. A lot of the stuff that you've got it anticipates engaging with a staff, that has a job commitment and sort of a regular engagement in activities. And so with the church community, the staffing component of the church community is very small. In our case, it's part-time, and it's even smaller because of COVID. And what we're struggling with, all the time, but especially now, is how to engage the community that is the congregation.
Right.
And the opportunity that I see there is among the congregation. I mean, part of the focus of the church community is protecting our environment. So that's built into why we gather together. And so there's this inherent interest, and we've taken advantage. St. Matthew's has taken advantage of your set of workshops in the past. More pitched at individuals. So we've got this sort of unique mix of engaging individuals who are looking to to become green and more sustainable in their day-to-day lives, and as well as a community. This has put us on the edge and has made us, maybe not the best fit for carbon 613 in its previous manifestations. But I really appreciate having a sort of an overview of what you've got online, and I'm motivated now to go back and have a look, because I think there might be some opportunities. Obviously we're online also in our community engagement. So, okay.
I think, there's some opportunities there, Bill. I mean, we frame it as employee engagement, but I mean, you certainly did hit the nail on the head. These tools are still going to benefit the congregation. And I mean, if you've got, your congregation as your green team, then these tools are fantastic, and you can get really good buy-in. And if I can just segue, I did put a little link in the chat about a window retrofit system that I think would work very well for stained glass windows. So we did put it into our heritage building, and it works remarkably well. You can't see it, and it really does. It cuts down on drafts and noise. So just thought I'd throw that out there, a little pitch for magnetite.
Thanks very much.
Okay, are there any other questions before John?
Just again, I appreciate all the presentations that have been given today, the two main speakers. And just for information, many years ago, my own parish was involved with the energy audit with the EnviroCentre, and so we really appreciated what was done. And now the financial situation has changed, and with the COVID crisis too, in many cases, faith communities are having a challenge. My role right now, for your information, is coordinate creation care ministry with the Archdiocese, the Catholic Archdiocese of Ottawa. And what I need to know is where's the low-hanging fruit? Where can we motivate people to move forward on different projects? For example, the solar panels and so forth. What would be the payback period, so that after a period has been paid, then the rest of it is an investment that you're getting your return. I have a sister that lives in a rural area, and is now her project has been paid off, and she's happy that there's income. What would be the payback period now for that kind of thing? And what are some of the other low-hanging fruits that could be persuasive for
yeah, it's a great question, and I wouldn't necessarily characterize, unfortunately, solar as a low-hanging fruit per se, but what I would say is that, when blended with other energy efficiency endeavors, LED lighting is the hanging fruit you're going to sort of get, and then things moving up from programmable thermostats or controls on existing systems towards more capital intensive retrofits where you're replacing old or inefficient equipment. But in terms of the motivation piece, I agree, John, that it can be really challenging. One of the ways that we try to push folks, and I not to turn this into an advertisement for CoEnergy, but we try to push folks towards this work because as I sort of tried to outline, when you're working with a group like ours, and you're able to avoid that upfront capital cost and just start reaping the paybacks from day one, you go from talking about 10, 15, 20-year paybacks, say with a solar system, to starting to see small, albeit reduced savings right off the bat. And so that's kind of part of how we try to motivate folks, is to say there's other ways of essentially enabling the savings, even future savings that you're going to realize, to start sort of working for you from day one. So that's a little bit of how I would frame that. I mean, I would certainly say that with solar, as I sort of alluded to, it's not necessarily going to be the first thing you want to do, because the pays are still going to be pretty long. Even for a residential system, you're still talking 10 plus years, I would think. And that can kind of go up as the system size increases. So it's going to vary, obviously, but my word to you would be that there's ways to get around that sort of upfront, capital consideration, and find maybe other ways to motivate people through different financing mechanisms.
Yeah, and I agree that there are other factors involved too. Faith communities ought to be the moral compass in terms of the directions that we take, so that we're making a difference. And yes, the return may not come immediately, but the return in terms of the impact on climate, the impact that affects people around the world is there now, what we do. Thank you.
So we may not know what your faith community is up to in terms of sustainability and activity. And if we don't, please be sure to get in touch with Hannah, and don't forget about the energy benchmarking program. And it's a really valuable way. And of course, these two organizations that presented today have been partners of Greening Sacred Spaces and Faith in the Common Good for many years. So we really do encourage you to seek out more information from them. Hannah, is there anything else before we close in terms of priorities to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much have everything covered. As mentioned, part 2 of our webinar series is happening March 16th, so a month from now at 2 p.m., where we will have Enbridge, Save on Energy. We will have Stephen from Faithful Footprints to talk more about the United Churches program there as well, along with maybe a couple other speakers. So we highly recommend everyone who's on the call today to register for that on our website to get more information on the utility side and the Faithful Footprints program.
And Hannah, maybe you can just give folks an update. Our goal is to reach 50 faith communities by the middle of next year. And can you give us a quick update on where we are with that number today?
Yeah, so we currently have 24 faith communities signed up for the energy benchmarking program, with another 8 to 10 that will be signed on with the next couple of months. So we still are looking for about roughly 20 or so more faith communities to sign on for the program.
Great. So if you are on this call today and you don't know what we're talking about and you're not part of the program, please reach out to Hannah and our team. We're halfway there at almost 25. And we really do want to continue to create a strong presence in Ottawa for this program. The more we can track and manage our energy collaboratively, the better it's going to be for us to be able to identify where there's priorities and to link those congregations together potentially down the road for projects in partnership with groups like EnviroCentre or CoEnergy and that kind of thing. So please be sure to get connected, and can't wait to see you folks at our next call in a month's time or so. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.